tea session to Hey loves, welcome to my channel Thoughts with Trisha, and today we have our very first episode of Love in the Suburbs, a complimentary tea session. I want to preface by saying that I'm really excited to get this YouTube channel started. I'm doing it as a promotional tool for my writing career, as I'm going to explain in just a minute. So I am a new writer on Medium. If you don't know what Medium is, it's essentially a social media platform but for writers, and so you can post whatever kind of content you want to post on there in terms of writing. So I'm particularly going to be doing poetry this series, which will be an editorial column on Love in the Suburbs, and I will also be posting short stories. Please go check it out. The link will be in the description box below if you want to go check out my work. Give me a follow, give me a comment, give me a like, help support. If not, you can also just stay for the conversation. You're thinking it, I'm thinking it, so let's talk about it. Like any complimentary tea session, you must actually have tea, duh. And today we have our lovely mug. I am in love with this thing. If you know me, you know that I love SpongeBob, so let's go ahead and take a sip and get right into it. Okay, now I want to start off in talking about this, what my perspective is. So in this series, you know, it could go a lot of different ways. We're talking about Love in the Suburbs, which is like a very multifaceted topic, of course, when you're talking about love. But I specifically want to start from my personal experience, what I've learned, and I also want to include what the purpose is for even starting a series like this to begin with. And I think one of the main things that I want to start with is I don't see a lot of representation of people, or specifically women, who are single and happy. It's like you constantly see people crying about not being in a relationship or being miserable, or you're constantly threatened when you say that, you know, you aren't really in the mood for dating or you don't really know if marriage is for you. People will immediately come at you with, well, you're gonna die alone with cats and and all this stuff, right? And so I kind of wanted to take it upon myself to provide a different perspective and also a different experience altogether, because personally I consider myself to be pretty blessed, as in superlatively happy, and I'm also single, and so I want to explore the possibilities of that, how we even got here, and I also want to document where we go from here, because I think especially in like my generation as a 20-something recent graduate, we kind of have these very like progressive ideas of like relationships and love, and so I think it's very easy to kind of find a friend that might understand where you're coming from, but we don't really see it represented long term. And so that's what I plan to do with this channel, with my writer's page, is I want to document this experience and show, you know, that there is more to life than being in a relationship. But who knows, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe by the end of the story I'll have a different perspective. But until then, this is where we're starting now. And I actually want to pull a quote that exemplifies this idea perfectly from this week's edition, and I say, I simply want to take the road less traveled and document my experience in hopes that this new understanding of singlehood can become commonplace rather than just a fairy tale. And the reason why I said instead of just a fairy tale is because a lot of the times when we're talking about, oh, you know, when I look at my life, I don't necessarily see myself with the altar, or I don't necessarily see myself with children. A lot of people think it's pretty nonsensical to think that, you know, once you get older, you won't change your mind, or you'll be miserable because you don't have those things. And so I kind of want to debunk the myth. Like, I want to be like, no, it is 100% possible, and you don't have to want everything else that other people want. And so that's what we're trying to show here. That's what I'm trying to represent. If you're also on this journey, let's be on that journey together, boo. Let's figure it out together. I think though, when starting a series like this, it's very important to express my experiences and how we even got here. And I just want to start off by saying I was 100% obsessed with the idea of love, with relationships. You could call me a hopeless romantic, you could just call me flat out crazy at the time, but I was obsessed, honey. I was obsessed. Dreaming about what my marriage would look like how many different scenarios in which I could meet my soulmate. I mean, it kind of ruled my every thought at one point in my life, and it took a lot of healing and spiritual awareness for me to unpack all of that and quit with the obsessive behavior, because I think it is important to have hope, it is important to dream, but when it turns into an obsession, I think you need to start looking a little bit deeper on the inside to see why you are clinging so much to a certain specific aspect of your life. And I actually realized that the reason why I was so obsessed with relationships, or so obsessed with keeping a relationship, is because I wanted a distraction. I realized that I was spiritually hungry. I wasn't healing myself. I wasn't pouring into myself in the ways that I should, and so my spirit, my mind, my body was searching for, you know, stuff to fill that hole. And because when you go to the internet, or family members or friends, whenever, you know, you talk to them about being unfulfilled or being unhappy or whatever the case may be, if you're single, they're immediately going to tell you that,
oh, well, it's just because you haven't found your person yet. Once you find your person, like, everything will be better and you won't have to worry about being sad and miserable.
And I believed that for a really long time, but once I unpacked that I wasn't actually pursuing a relationship, but I was actually pursuing a distraction, it allowed me to rework how I was moving in life and how I saw myself in life, in order to realize where it actually was stemmed from. And I think a lot of us come to realize that this is probably true. Your obsession with love, your obsession with relationships probably stems from a deeper rooted issue of feeling unfulfilled spiritually inside. And I think this is a great time to bring in a quote from All About Love by Bell Hooks. Absolutely love this. 10 out of 10, 100% recommend. Everybody should read it. Fight me if you want to. But we're going to pull a quote from page 72 where Bell Hooks says, "The cultural emphasis on endless consumption deflects attention from spiritual hunger." And that was really moving to me. One of the reasons why I highlighted it is because I realized that we consume so much to the point where it doesn't even occur to us that we are also encouraged to consume people. I mean, we're expected to foster all of these like larger than life connections, and we aren't really taught how to love or how to receive love or what love even is. It's just this idea that it will just happen to you, and the more people you consume, the more likely you are to finding it. And I realized that if the root of the issue is spiritual hunger, why am I only limiting myself to one possible solution when that proposed solution isn't actually working? And so what I ended up doing upon coming to that realization is I came to this idea that we live in a consumer-based society that prioritizes materialistic and fast-acting gratification as a mechanism of obtaining joy. And what I mean by this essentially is that we are driven to loneliness, right? We are all spiritually hungry, and rather than being given solutions, we are then placed in this place of constant consumption where we're trying to fill this hole, this void, with all these other things that just simply aren't going to do the work. And so after I realized that, I thought to myself, you know, is a relationship really what I need? Like, if I'm spiritually hungry, what am I hungry for? And that led me down another rabbit hole of, is singleness truly misery? Because if I need a relationship, then it makes sense for singleness to be miserable for me, right? Because I'm not being fed spiritually in the ways that I need. But upon examining everything that a relationship entails, from personal experience to just research and things of that nature, I realized that nothing about a relationship is what I'm lacking in life. And I actually, when I see myself in the future, when I see things that will make me happy, I realize that I'm much more career driven, spiritually driven, but in terms of romance driven, it just isn't really there for me. Now, that's not to say that I don't appreciate romance or I don't think that I would enjoy it. It's just that's not what my spirit is actually craving. And I realized that I need to be focused on what is actually going to fulfill me spiritually. And once I made that switch, once I identified those things, I became superlatively happy. When I looked inside internally, when I was alone, when I focused on myself and my wants and my needs, I realized that a relationship is not going to solve all my problems like I've been told all this time. In fact, it should have never been a solution on the table to begin with. I needed to focus on myself. I needed to get to know myself, and I needed to experience and enjoy my life for what it was at that time and appreciate it in every moment going forward. And so I wanted to really highlight what this meant for me, and really what it ended up meaning is finding peace. Like, I actually was able to take that leap of faith and find a place where I truly was happy, where I felt truly blessed, superlatively happy. You'll hear me say that plenty of times because I think it is such an amazing word. I mean, the fact that blessed means superlatively happy is such a beautiful thing. And so when I call myself blessed, when I say that I'm happy, I truly mean it. And it was because of that deep-rooted, in-depth look that I did on myself and foregoing all of the prescribed solutions from the internet and listening to what I wanted, what my spirit is telling me that I need. And I think this is exemplified perfectly from another quote from this week's edition, where I say, rather than being assaulted by the predicted misery I had heard about my whole life, I found something totally different and oddly foreign. I found peace. And that really warmed my heart when I was able to find it, because I realized that, you know, love will come, love is around, and I need to learn to acknowledge and appreciate the love that is already around me. If I'm spiritually hungry for love and acceptance and connections with other human beings, then I am really just ignoring, firstly, what I already have, but prioritizing a very specific, oddly constructed version of love. And I realized that that's not really what it means for me. I mean, me and my mom, for example, we have an unbreakable bond. I think that is one of the best representations of unconditional love that I have ever seen or experienced in my entire life. My grandparents have supported me from the very first day that I drew my first breath. My auntie dedicated her heart and soul into making sure that I could see the world as much as possible while I was studying in college. My best friend shows and represents to me what a true soul connection actually is. And those are just some of the ways in which I experience love, experience joy in this life with the people that I'm already connected to. And I realize that I'm not missing out on anything. I'm not missing out on this, you know, grand gift that, you know, comes from the universe in the package titled love. Like, I already have so much love in my life, and I will continue to have so much love in my life to the point where I don't have this insatiable need for a romantic partnership. I would like a romantic partnership. I think it would be cool, but only if it is with somebody who is wholehearted, only if it is with somebody who truly meets my standards and my non-negotiables for and has the capacity to give and receive love. And so that kind of brings into my next part is I'm not saying to forsake love. I'm not telling any of you to be like, to heck with it, I'm gonna be single for the rest of my life, like forget it all, I'm just gonna love me, myself, and I. You should love yourself 100%, and I think that's most important, 100%. But I also think what I'm really trying to say, what I'm really trying to get at with this topic and with everything that I've said previously, is that you need to appreciate and you need to acknowledge the love that is currently in your life. And you need to know that no matter what in this lifetime, you will never run out of love so long as you continue to love yourself. And by loving yourself, you will invite the love from those around you who you care deeply for and care deeply for you. And you shouldn't be focused on this one and done, one type of love that honestly, if we really look at our society today, is really not full of love at all. It's pretty transactional, it's pretty structured, pretty limited. I think love does not fit into a lot of the situations that a lot of us are striving for. But right, it's like, you know, a label of love is slapped on it and that's what we think it's about, but it really isn't. So I encourage you to look within yourself and discover, what does love really mean to you? What does being single really mean to you? What does being alone really mean to you personally? Forget all the noise, forget everybody trying to tell you how to live your life. Look inside deeply, look inside spiritually, and figure out, okay, am I really unhappy because I'm alone? Am I really unhappy because I don't have a man? Am I really unhappy because I don't have a significant other? Whatever the case may be. Look inside and determine if that's really true. I looked inside and I found peace, you know, and if I do come across somebody in this lifetime that is my soulmate and the love of my life, I will 100% include them in my family, include them in my community, and they will be my special romantic partner, that romantic connection that I have, that intimate connection that I have. But I won't ever consider my life unfulfilled or unsuccessful or unhappy if that never happens. And so I think you have to be content and in love with your own life, so that whatever, however it turns out, you can make sure constantly that you are comfortable with who you are happy with who you are. You know, you might obviously have downtime, you might have times where you're sad. Superlatively happy does not mean that you are happy all of the time. Superlatively happy is more of a general happiness that you have over your life. You're gonna have moments where you're upset. We're human. I want you to feel your emotions, but let's not limit ourselves into a bubble where if we're single we have to be miserable, if we're in a relationship we have to be happy. Forget the emotions that you're, you know, pinning on with a safety pin. Take it off. A relationship is a relationship, single is single. Whatever emotion you feel surrounding those two things is entirely up to you. And so I challenge you, lovelies, do you dare to be single and happy? Do you dare to walk a life less documented? If that sounds like you, or if you just want to still stay a part of the conversation, please, please, please go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be doing these episodes every single week. They'll get posted on Tuesdays, and the edition for that week gets posted on Mondays. I thank you all so much for your support. I cannot wait for you to check out the video coming out later this week where you can see how I created this look. If you really enjoyed it and want to recreate it and are inspired by it, go ahead and see it. You thought it, I thunk it, and we talked about it. Bye!